Ooh, I want to try too. Can you beat Dark Souls as a level 1 dragon? Yeah, you can probably beat it by sneezing at your enemies. I know, it's just a title. And anyway, you're really here to watch me suffer while I sing songs about dogs and write poetry about feet. Probably. So, what are the rules? Well, I have to beat the main game and all the DLC bosses using only the dragon form melee and breath attacks to do damage. And I'm going to do the whole thing at soul level 1, because what better way to deal with years of unresolved trauma and abandonment issues. Also, I haven't done any level 1 runs on the channel yet, so I'd like to show you a fun alternative to a normal SL1. I use the word fun subjectively. I'd like to give a quick shout here to the Backlogs, who fairly recently did an excellent Dragon Headstone only run, which you should all check out. But of course, Lemon is a man of honour and does things by the book with no glitches, whereas I have no issue with bending the game over my knee and spanking its dirty little lines of code till they submit to my... okay, I'll shut up now. Let's get on with this. Hi everyone, meet Liz. Nice dead skin mask you got there, Buffalo Bill. Fortunately, this isn't the real world, so looks don't matter, especially since we're going to be a dehydrated chicken soon enough. Pyro is starter class, Master Key is my gift, get the festival piss bottle from Oscar, chuck some fireballs at the Erdtree avatar, because it's the closest I can get to being a dragon for now, and I was off to Lordran to begin my adventure for real. After clearing out Firelink for useful items like Humanities and Homeward Bones, and speaking to this guy who tried to sign me up to his MLM scheme, it was time to collect some essentials. First up, I headed down through the Valley of the Drakes to Darkroot Basin for the Grasscrest Shield, which is the one shield in the game that I had no real intention of using as a shield. But keeping it equipped for the stamina regen would save me having to fill up a ring slot. From there, I carried on up to the parish, picked up the Firekeeper Soul and the Undead Asylum key, headed back up the elevator for the basement key and mystery key, quit out to de-aggro the mob since I had no damage dealer yet, freed Golden Boy, and gave him a lesson in Newtonian physics for the Fap Ring. Guess that's No Not November failed then. Next, I took a trip down through South London, making sure to grab this large soul of a proud knight on my way, and rested at the top of the Great Hollow bonfire. Now, this is important if you're going to do this. Don't rest at any more bonfires after this one for now, or you're going to have one hell of a journey back. The key word being hell. I descended to Ash Lake, making sure to grab at least one of the dragon scales on the way. There's one near the Hydra, one in this tree, one by the shoreline, and another near the main Blighttown bonfire, which I forgot about. Not that it matters. Onward to the Everlasting Dragon. Join the Covenant to get the Dragon Headstone and bone out back to the top of the Great Hollow. I am become Dragon, destroyer of low-level hollows. Also, I look fucking ridiculous. Dog on a wheel. How does he feel? He goes round and 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 round. Where was I? Oh, yeah, dragons or something. The Dragon Headstone turns your head into a dragon head, as if the name didn't already give it away, and you will retain that form until you die. Using the stone once transformed will allow you to breathe fire at your friends and foes alike. And, although this does pretty decent damage already, I needed more, because I'm a damage slut. So it was time to break the game open like a convoluted piñata, because that's what we do here. Here's how. Firstly, go to Andre, and once you're done admiring his deliciously greased up manly arms, buy 999 wooden arrows and a cestus. 999 of any arrow will do, but wooden are the cheapest. Next, move the soul you picked up in Blighty up your inventory so it sits just below your Estus flask. Go to your arrows, select drop, change it to 999 and cancel out without actually dropping anything. Go to your system tab, down to brightness, and press X on PlayStation or your equivalent button, immediately followed by R1. If you did it wrong, you'll end up back in your inventory, so just repeat the steps, but if you did it right, you'll end up with two menus on top of each other, like so. Go down, select OK, go down to Quick Game, select, change the number here to 999, and hit OK again. See? Being a YouTuber really is the way to get rich quick. Like an angry capital G gamer who drunk too much Monster Energy, I hadn't broken enough stuff yet. So on to part 2 of the exploit. Go back to Sexy Boy and buy at least 1000 pikes. Why? Well, every character has a hidden inventory max weight of 10,000 units. A pike weighs 10 units, so 1000 pikes will max out your inventory weight limit. This step takes a little while as you have to buy each pike individually, so I'd recommend some music. I personally chose Lateralis by Tool because the complex polyrhythms allowed my mind to transcend the boredom and reach a higher plane of consciousness. Also, it's like 5 hours long or something. Okay, perfect. Might as well buy up the other useful items while we're here. Once you're done with that crap, drop the cestus you bought earlier on the ground. If you try to pick it up again, it should prevent you from doing so. Move to a different spot and drop enough pikes to bring you back below the inventory limit, but make sure you don't drop more than 30 or this can prevent the glitch working. Now, try to pick the cestus up again and... yeah, that makes sense. Go back to Andre, select the cestus from his purchase menu, and then cancel out of all the menus. Move the dragon scale you picked up to the top of your inventory, repeat the brightness glitch from earlier to get the double menu, and then press right, X, down, right, and X again to get this drop item menu. Push down to get a negative quantity, select OK, and just like magic, you now have enough dragon scales to give Seath nightmares for the next 1000 years. Quick disclaimer, this works on both PC and console on the remastered edition of DS1, but the PC steps are slightly different, so I'll link a couple of good tutorials in the description that show the changes. After a brief detour to the undead merchant for the residence key while I still had some cash in my pocket, I repeated my trip down to the Great Hollow to hand in all my scales to the Covenant. You want to give at least 80 of these for the max power level, as each Covenant rank increase ups your dragon damage. This will also reward you with the Dragon Torso Stone, which turns your entire body into... whatever this thing is. Cute backpack though. So, what does this actually do? On the plus side, you gain a new unarmed moveset with massively increased damage. On the downside, your damage isn't really going to get any better than it is now. You won't be able to wear any armour, so your defence will be worse than a backline of 4 Harry Maguires, and also, the moveset kinda blows. R1 is a claw swipe with less reach than a T-Rex, which is often so crap you can swipe an enemy from 2 inches away and still somehow miss them. R2 gives more reach but will drain most of your stamina at SL1, so should be used with care. Rolling attacks turn into a fast headbutt, which is probably the best of the moves, and there is also a running attack and a jump attack, but ain't nobody got time for that last one. Hi scriptwriting Baron from the past, this is Editor Baron from the future, telling you to stop missing shit out of your script, goddammit. Using the Torso Stone while transformed also gives you a 5-second boost to your damage. However, I didn't end up actually using this much because in the instances where it would have been useful, I'd often end up with a choice between roaring or taking my attack window, so I didn't really want to rely on it. I didn't forget though, before you all spam the comments, alright? I guess it's time to go ding some bells then. Yeah, I swear down, bruv, I caught a fish and it was this big, no lie. What an eccentric performance. I'll take all your homeward bones though, cheers. With both bells, belled? I proceeded onwards to Sen's fortress, which isn't too hard to negotiate as long as you take your time. This guy can chomp on a suitcase full of hairy balls though. After grabbing the cage key from the bottom of the tower, I decided to do some more prep before completing the area. So I returned to Firelink and made my way down to the bone zone for a quick bit of pinwheeling. In case you weren't aware, you can skip most of this area, and as long as you don't rest at any bonfires, you can grab the Rite of Kindling and bone out straight back to Firelink. Kill the first necromancer, open the passage, run across the first bridge, roll off this spot here, down again to the bottom, and go slap pinwheel silly. Careful though, because the fireballs can still do substantial damage to you at this level, and nobody wants to admit they died to this boss. With the power of 20 Estacies, I was ready for the delights of Anor Londo, with the minor inconvenience of having to tickle the Iron Golem's ankles till he shits himself first. Just don't get grabbed and you should be fine. The flying rats carried me off to the big city. Like the big boy that I am, I took in the view, scratched a gargoyle to death, made my way across the rafters using my shield for safety. Oh boy, I hope this guy doesn't decide to do his 20-hit combo. Killed the second gargoyle, hit up Gwendolyn's bonfire, and headed up to the archers. If you roll through the right-hand archer's arrows to bait him to switch to melee, and then back away again, he'll do most of the hard work for you. Just be wary of his pal behind you though. Close, but not close enough, matey. Once inside, I took the stair skip to open up all the shortcuts, realised I was in fact even more of an idiot than I initially thought, and headed back through Sen's to grab the 2 Firekeeper souls in New Londo and Blighttown that I hadn't picked up yet. A +3 Estus at SL1 should be enough to heal you up from most things that won't straight up kill you. So, I guess I was ready for Keenan and Kel. Haha, best boss fight ever, am I right? Sheesh. Phase 1 can be pretty annoying, what with half of your attacks failing to connect, and Ornstein zipping around the arena like a broken Roomba. But at least once you get him down, Super Smough is easy peasy, even at SL1. As long as you keep in front of him and don't back away too much, he shouldn't do his annoying charge attack and will just spam the same 3 attacks over and over. If he does the vertical slam or the sideways swing, just dodge and punish, and you only really need to worry about the butt slam, which is fine as long as you run or roll backwards twice. There's really no way to mess this up unless you lose your concentrate. Fuck me, right? Okay. Again.
And the crowd is wild, but the whole world still is silence loud. So I break the plane, but the lion now, and they inhale so hard they tired now. Put the fire out, on the trying now, but it's bigger than just flame. The time is out, and they can't speak the name, they riot out, and they don't look like it's about to be dying down. Now they flying now, but I'm wildin' now, and they quick to stop whatever they trying now. The soldiers on their back and crying now. They try to deal with the heat, but they frying now. Try and wind it down, but it's winding now. All they can do is recognize society now. The warriors might as well retire now. And tell the world, let them know, put the siren now.
Guinevere might just be an illusion, like all the women in my life, but at least she gave me the world's biggest soup bowl. So I fast travelled back to Firelink to speak to Lordran's worst advert for dental hygiene, placed the Lord vessel, and decided to get some optional activities out of the way before continuing. Firstly, I returned to the Undead Asylum, where I took on the fearsome Stray Demon, using the age-old tactic of clapping his thick cheeks for an easy 20k souls. Wait, I don't need souls for anything. Why did I do that? Oh well, may as well grab the doll while I'm here. Next, I headed to Darkroot Garden to grab the Wolf Ring to boost my non-existent poise, which, to be fair, I should have done a lot earlier, and sprinted straight to Sif. Hugging the left-hand side the whole way gives you a pretty safe route with minimum hassle. Full disclosure, Sif might be a pretty easy boss fight, but I don't actually play this game that often, and it always takes me a couple of attempts to get used to the timing of the spinny sword attack. But aside of that, it's just a simple matter of getting underneath for some belly scratches until the fight is over. She's not dead, she's just gone to stay on a farm, I promise.
This land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind.
Why am I here exactly? No idea, but I might as well deal with Queen Fluffy since I came to kill bosses and chew gum and I'm all out of gum. And bosses to kill. I wrote a poem to sum up the Priscilla boss fight, and it goes a little like this. Feet, feet, feet. The gentle pitter-patter of her little tippy toes in the twinkling snow. Feet. Examining patterns as I slash and hack and punch. I'd like to get this done so I can have some lunch. So please, please don't one-shot me, you invisible feet. Time for some Lord Souls. So let's get the ones that are gonna suck butt out of the way first. Wait, that's all of them. Izalith it is then. Ceaseless Discharge might sound like a terrible death metal album name, but in fact, it's just a terrible boss. Luckily, you can do the whole Foggate jump attack strat. A quick tip, if you mess this up first time, like I definitely didn't do here, you can trigger the jump again by running all the way to the altar and back to the fog again. Time to give him, it, a manicure. Hold still now. Beautiful. After draining all the sauce from Lasagna Land, I carried on heading downwards to the next bonfire, burned the worm protecting it, and took on the Demon Fire Sage, which is basically just stray demon after a visit to Donald Trump's tanning salon in a worse arena. Excuse me, do you mind? You gotta hand it to FromSoft. They knew this area was crap, so it was nice of them to put all the worst bosses here. Centipede Demon isn't really an issue as long as you head over to the area to the right to give yourself some space. Just make sure you keep your eye on it when it jumps in the air so you don't get flattened, and you should be golden. Easy peasy centipede. We can't stop here! This is butt country! Although stopping to grab the hidden bonfire definitely helps. The Pyromancer and Kirk both tried to show off their tricks, so I showed them my own neat trick of ripping their hearts out through their spines. Kalameet! And you all know what comes next. Bed of Chaos would be an appropriate description of my sexual activities, if I was actually getting any, but hey, at least Dark Souls knows how to fuck me hard. Breaking the first two orbs isn't an issue, and you can quit out after each one to reset yourself at the fog. Getting through the middle though? Yeah, have fun with that. I had a sneaking suspicion that Nito and the Four Kings would both be a massive pain, so I decided to head to the archives next, but I might as well dispatch the Hydra in Darkroot first. This isn't too tricky except for the fact one of the heads always ends up in a really annoying position, but some careful usage of my fire breath did the trick. Pfft, who am I kidding? I just pressed the button and hoped for the best. I reloaded the area to free Dusk, headed up to the archives to obtain the broken pendant, had a roaring contest with Daddy Seath, woke up in prison, as you do, turned down the music, and made my way back through the archives to the Crystal Cave for round 2. Spatial awareness really helps here. I wish I could tell you something interesting about this fight, but, well, it's Seath. The easiest strat to not get flattened was to run up to his belly, give it a poke, and either run back out of range of his crystal breath, or stay there for a second hit and then run to the right, as he'll usually do a second crystal attack much closer to his body if you stay close. Rinse and repeat a few times, and the big white dragon fell to his doom. Look at me, I'm the dragon now. I couldn't really put off Nito much longer. So I ventured on to the Tomb of the Giants, where I graciously allowed Patches to kick me down to grab the skull lantern, boned back out, sprinted to the second bonfire. Oh, okay. Dispatched Leroy and prepared for Nito. Now, Nito himself is not a difficult boss in the slightest. Not having a divine weapon to dispatch his bony dicklet triplets though? Well, that was possibly the most annoying thing in the run so far. Can you get out of the fricking way, Lord Almighty? I needed a strategic rethink, and I had an idea, but for now I could feel the rage building up, so I figured I'd have an easier time getting the DLC out of the way first. Right? Right? I wonder what happens if I touch this. Sanctuary Guardian isn't a boss many people talk about, but honestly this thing is already more fun to fight than most of the main game bosses, even if it isn't particularly hard once you get the moveset down. And it has enough attacks that leave you with time to get a cheeky scratch or two in afterwards. So, after a couple of attempts it fell, I had this crazy fever dream where I spoke to a giant mushroom, and it was time for Artorias. I'd recommend grabbing the Ring of Steel Protection from Sens at this point if you haven't already, because it allows you to actually tank some hits from him, which helps while you're learning the fight at this level. I'd also recommend not locking on because it makes his flippy pancake bullshit a lot easier to dodge. Wanna see how this went? Okay, fine. Here you go. With Lefty Lucy no more than a distant memory, I could now progress through Ulasil, making sure to stop off along the way for the silver pendant and the key to Goth's tower. Special shout out to this section here for making me want to chew my own face off and spit it out again. 1 HP in a dream, baby. I briefly considered freeing Sif just for the heck of it, and then quickly changed my mind after being thoroughly embarrassed by a floating butt plug. So I went straight to Manus, a dude with one very big hairy palm. Now, I'm no lore expert, but I think that means he spent a lot of time party help. Unlike the other main DLC fights, I prefer to do this one locked on, especially because it makes it easier to actually hit Manus with your tiny little arms. And I dodge left for everything. The only things to be especially wary of are his Mega Wombo combo, which you can avoid by just running away as soon as he roars, and his dark attacks, which can be countered with the silver pendant. Even with the Ring of Steel Protection on, a fair few of his attacks can one-shot, so one mistake here can be extremely costly. But after several sweaty attempts, more than a few swear words, this happened. Damn girl, you could at least say thanks. It seemed only fitting that my last fight of the DLC should be some hot dragon on dragon action. So I prepared to face up to the ultimate dragon foe, Kalameet. Although this fight isn't quite as difficult as Manus because Kala is less relentless, there is also far more potential to get one shot, so you gotta be very careful. Standing under his belly for any period of time is risky. His calamity grab attack equals death. He will often fly straight up and pepper the ground in flames, and if he does the charge while you're under him and it clips you, good luck surviving the follow-up fire breath. If you're close enough for either of his forward fire attacks, you can punish by running forwards and attacking his legs. Otherwise, the best windows are his head swipes or his diving charge, which will usually follow up with a spin attack if you're close. His head has a nasty hitbox though, that's about twice as wide as it looks.
Thank you, Dark Souls.
And even if you dodge it, his character model can sometimes sweep you into the path of his next attack if you're not careful. By this point in the run, I didn't want to spend too long bashing my head against a brick wall, so I opted for the slow and steady approach. Of course, the attempt where I actually beat him ended up being one of the messier ones, but a win is a win, even if this did take almost 15 minutes. Here are some of the highlights. The good news, DLC done. The bad news, I couldn't put off Nito anymore. However, I had a plan now. As a side note, I actually did the prep for this before the DLC, but it made more sense in the narrative to tell you about it now. Firstly, I headed through the Undead Burg to kill the Taurus demon. You know the strat here. Up the ladder, plunge attack, and... holy shit. Don't know who this guy is, I'm sure he's not important though. Next, I went down to Lower Burg, freed Greggs the Baker, gave Capra Demon some hot plunging action, freed Laurentius from the depths, and bought Iron Flesh from him back at Firelink. This pyromancy turns you into a highly armoured, god-stomping poise monster, at the cost of most of your freedom of movement. Finally, I returned to the Undead Asylum to kill Oscar. No wonder you couldn't beat Asylum Demon, you fat-rolling noob. I did this for one main reason, the Crest Shield, which gives a whopping 80% magic damage resistance. I upgraded it to +5 for better stability, and I was finally ready for Nito. Here's how it goes. Take out any skellies that rush you, and then run up to Nito before they respawn. Dodge behind him to buy yourself some time, make sure there are no stragglers nearby, and cast Iron Flesh. Then walk into his warm bony crotch and start wailing away at him. If he does his big AoE, then just shield up and tank it and make the most of the fact you're skeleton free for a few seconds. You get 3 casts of Iron Flesh, each one lasting 30 seconds, and you'll probably need them all, so pick your windows for recasting wisely, as the skellies can stun you out of your cast. This still needs some good RNG in terms of what attacks Nito uses and how often he clears out all 3 skeletons for you, but after 4 or 5 attempts, 10 attempts, I finally got a good pattern, the Lord of Death died, Not sure how that actually works, and I only had one more Lord Soul to collect. Oh boy! I sure hope it's an easy one! You'll want to carefully pick your way through Ghost Gank's city. Oh, who am I kidding? Just fucking run, it's easier. Get the key, drain the lake, backstab some dark wraiths. It's for your own good. The approximately but sometimes not quite 4 kings are a DPS check, and at SL1 you don't really want to be having to handle more than one at once. So I needed a way to boost my damage as much as possible without resorting to Red Tearstone Ring, because I didn't really fancy trying to hit this fight. Thank God for Power Within then, which you can grab from near whatever the hell this thing is in Blighttown. Fine, you can have a kiss. The key with the 4 kings is to get as close as possible. Of course, with my little chicken claws I didn't exactly have any other options. The crest shield helps tank the laser blast if they happen to do it, and if the king starts spinning, then run the hell away because it's going to be the grab or the explosion. But otherwise, you just want to get right up close and personal in their intimate space, and either dodge or just tank your way through the swipes, and hope you don't get the RNG where they spam attacks that force you to back away constantly, because ideally, you want to kill each king before the next one spawns in. If you can't do that, then it was nice knowing you. RIP, like a fog gate, you'll be missed. Luckily, Power Within lasts 100 seconds. So, as long as you get a half-decent pattern of attacks, this is a lot less painful than I initially thought it might be. And after a few tries, the kings fell one after the other, the last Lord Soul was mine, and I was ready to end the game. Time to go and bully an old man for his pension book. Well, there you go. I warmed my reptilian blood in the most direct way possible, the end cutscene played out, and I had beaten Dark Souls as a level 1 dragon. It's a fun alternative to a normal SL1, and not too awful to do. It's just a shame the dragon form looks so chickeny. At least you'll fix that in DS3 though. Right, Miyazaki? Oh yo, what the fuck?